I'm Mark Saxton. Thank you for joining me for yet again another episode of Back to the Drawing Board. Let's get our Friday beers going and flowing. Cheers. Friday beers always hit differently. Let's jump right in. NHL tonight on April 4th, 2025. Alexander Ovechkin tying the GOAT at 894. Tying the GOAT. Plays the Islanders on Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, depending on where you are. I think he does it. I think this record is all but broken. Congrats, Ovi. Well deserved. Rooting for you tonight against the Blackhawks. I really thought you could have gotten it done. There was an empty netter that the 20-year-old ended up scoring instead of you. You weren't even on the ice. You had a couple of shots there with less than a minute left. I know you made a hell of an attempt to try and get it done on home ice. Couldn't quite do that, so it happens. But, at least you got to tie in front of the home crowd, so congratulations. You got to do that in front of the Gr8 One himself. Awesome look. Like I said, couldn't be happier for the guy. Ovechkin is a great hockey player. Definitely happy for him, being that this is probably his last season. I really hope he gets it done. And like I said, congratulations. Speaking of that, going into the standings where the Toronto Make-Believes are in first in the Eastern Conference with 96 points. I'm sorry, in the Atlantic Division in the Eastern Conference. The Caps still in first in the Eastern Conference at 107 in the Metropolitan. Then you've got the Hurricanes at 96, Tampa Bay at 93, Florida at 92, New Jersey at 87. The first wild card slot being held by the Senators at 86, Montreal at 81. Now, here's the crazy thing. My Red Wings, 77 points, Montreal 81 points. With regulation wins, we have the most regulation wins besides the Sens. So if we can work our way to tie that and keep winning in regulation, we'll have all the tiebreakers that we need to get that second slot. So regulation wins, huge. Was able to get a regulation win against the Hurricanes tonight, which helped. I mean, it was a little scary. We were up 4-1, ended up barely winning and coming away with that one. Ended up coming away with a 4-3 win with 5-3 with an empty netter at the end of that game. So, going to be on the lookout for that. The NHL, that East is wide open. Like I said, you've got the Wings, but you also got the Blue Jackets at 77 points, the Rangers at 79 points, the Islanders at 76 points. So Montreal needs to win out pretty much, I think, with these teams on their ass like they are. On the Western Conference, you got the Winnipeg Jets just absolutely terrorizing the entire West with 108 points, Dallas at 104, Colorado at 98, the Knights at 98, Kings at 95, Edmonton at 93. Now, the first wildcard slot being held by the Blues at 91 points. Second wildcard slot being held by the Wild at 89 points. Calgary, Vancouver, and Utah all still alive. Vancouver and Utah, I think, are pretty much out of it, though, in my opinion only. Calgary's the closest. They're 5 points behind. While Vancouver and Utah 8 and 9 points out. So, coming towards the end of the season, I mean, hey, I think we're in for some fireworks. I think this is going to be good fun. I say that Eastern Conference is wide open. The West, I think, is pretty much settled. So it'll be a good look. Let's move it along to the MLB, where my San Diego Padres started off hot, 7-0, going to the Shy today and dropping one, losing 3-1, snapping the streak. Unfortunate work But it's okay because the Dodgers also snapped the streak, so I don't have to hear shit from those Dodgers fans. Fuck LA. They lost to the Phillies 3-2. So nobody's left undefeated in the MLB. I think the Padres and the Dodgers starting off hot. I think that's your telltale sign. That's your foreshadowing, if you will. That's what's going to come down later on in the season. It's going to come down to those two teams in the National League. We're gonna, the Padres getting Musgrove back, Darvish going on the rehab soon. I think this is all the recipe for success in the Padres' favor. The Dodgers, obviously, one hell of a rosters. I mean, we can talk about it until we're blue in the face. Everybody already fucking has. I think everybody's already sick of it. But the Dodgers have one thing against them. I think, in my opinion, all the pressure is on them. They have everything to lose. And I'm not saying that's what's going to be their downfall. I'm just saying all the pressure is on them. And they're going to have to come out and they're going to have to show out because with everything that they have, it's World Series or bust. And pretty much for the last 5 to 7 years, it's been World Series or bust. That being said, let's jump into some early standings, if you will. In the American League East, the Yankees and those weird-ass looking torpedo bats, 5-2. Half a game lead on Tampa with a 4-2 record. And Toronto with a 5-3 record. 1.5 out is Boston. 2 full games out is Baltimore. Kind of a slow start for Baltimore and Boston. Boston, a lot of people are calling to win the East. I stuck with the Yanks this year, but, not by choice, just happened to be the way it went. Boston, I mean, they have a chance at turning around, don't get me wrong. Baltimore's always got a good club. Tampa, I don't know if they are going to have enough gas in the tank. Toronto, always a good club. But I did give it to the Yankees. In the Central, I give it to the Twins, where they are a full game out. The Tigers, the big city kitties, are in first with a losing record, 3-4. Cleveland right behind them, 2-4. Kansas City tied with them, 2-4. Minnesota and the White Sox tied at 2-5. So the Minnesota Twins trying their best to make me look absolutely stupid. Going to the American League West, I did call for the Rangers to win this one, and they are in first, 5-2. Angels behind them, 4-2. Houston, 3-4, and then the A's and the Mariners, both 3-5. Going to the American League East, where the Phillies, who I called winning, are in first place, 6-1. New York Mets, or should I call it the city of Juan Soto Mets, are 4-3. They're 2 back. Miami 4-4, 2.5. Washington 1-6, and the Braves with a ice cold start. And I mean, a lot of people are shitting on the Braves, but they did have a tough go. Their very first series was with the Padres, who came out red hot. Right? That's tough. That's really tough. And then you go from them to the Dodgers, right? So two hot teams, and they just both happen to be undefeated. Braves fans, don't hit the panic button. We are barely in April. It'll be fine. Okay, it'll be fine. They bouncing back today against the Marlins with a big 10-0 win. So 1-7, got a long season ahead of you. Don't even worry about it. Okay, the Cubs coming out in first. I called the Brewers to win this division, and I wasn't that comfortable on it. But in all fairness, they had to face the Yankees and those weird-ass looking torpedo bats. It's kind of a tough start. Chicago, 6-4. St. Louis, 4-3. Milwaukee, 3-4. Cincy and Pittsburgh, 2-5, and then 2-6. Kind of where I expected those fools to be. Going to the NL West, the NL best, if you will. The Dodgers 8-1, Padres 7-1. Here's the thing, folks. I told you, be leery of those Giants, right? 6-1. The Diamondbacks, I would have thought started off better. I mean, they're still not bad. Don't get me wrong. 2 games above 500 at 5-3. But I was a little more worried about the Diamondbacks than I was the Giants. But I still said we'll look out for the Giants. And then the Rockies carrying the caboose at a 1-6 start. I think coming, just from a Padres fan, this is a awesome start. Would have really liked to obviously keep the streak going, but against a team like Chicago, in Chicago, I think that would have put maybe an exclamation mark, if you will, on the first 3 series of the season. Other than that, I can't complain. Dylan Cease doing his thing, Michael King doing his thing, Jackson Merrill, obviously, congratulations on the extension, doing his thing. Tatis, Machado, everybody that we've wanted to go to work has gone to work. We need to continue that, right? We need to continue that. I've said this in the past. The Padres always find themselves in a position where they can win everything and end up depending because everybody else falls into a slump or an injury, something going wrong. So they always end up depending on 1 or 2 guys to remain perfect throughout an important series. Can't find ourselves falling into those same traps. Let's moving along. March Madness, where congratulations to South Carolina punching their ticket to the final yet again, 2 years in a row, where they are waiting to see who they're going to play between UCLA and UConn. And UCLA was who I picked to go to the final against USC, and USC Juju getting hurt obviously was a big thing. UConn took advantage of that. Manhandling them 78-64, where Paige buckets 31 points. She just had a hell of a game. It was uncontainable. And right now, they are handling UCLA 42-22, where I did not see that coming. I really didn't. I did not see that coming. UConn just absolutely putting in work, up by 20 at half. And here's the thing. Paige doesn't even have the most points. Azzy Fudd with 19 points right now. So, I mean, absolutely doing work, UConn, keeping UCLA at bay. I say South Carolina has their hands full if UConn keeps this up. That pretty much busted my bracket, though. So moving along to the men's, where Auburn and Florida will face off on the 5th at 3:09, and then Duke and Houston at 5:49. So my bracket's alive, still there. I did pick Duke and St. John's, but I picked Auburn. Everybody that I picked to be in the Final Four is there except for Florida. So my bracket is looking pretty good still. I'm staying with Duke. Cooper Flag is the truth. Obvious first rounder. I don't think anybody's going to come close. I think they're going to handle business and do their thing. Let's go. Moving it right along to a USC fight night. Only really 3 fights I'm watching on this fight night. Fight before Patty the Batty fighting. I really don't even give a damn who else is on that card. I hope Bryce Mitchell gets the shit knocked out of him next week as he is coming in against John Silva. But Patty the Batty, Michael Chandler, can't wait for that. Now, going to the fight night tomorrow night on the 5th. Brad Tavares taking on Meerschaert, and I'm taking Brad Tavares all day long. As Brad Tavares 20-11, Gerald Meerschaert at 37-18, and Brad Tavares losing 4 of his last 5. So only beating Chris Weidman in his last 5. All tough, and he got knocked out twice, lost by decision once, and submitted once. I think this is going to be a good bounce back fight for him. Meerschaert is coming in winning only 2 of his last 5, losing 3, 2 by sub and 1 by knockout. So, my opinion, pretty even. I'm taking Tavares. Next one that I want to talk about is Joanderson Brito and Pat Sabatini. I'm taking Brito on this one. I think Brito, he's younger, he has the reach, and in his last 5, winning 4, only losing to Gomes. Well, Sabatini, a different story there, losing 2 out of his last 5, but getting knocked out both times. That's huge. That's huge. His 3 wins were one unanimous and 2 subs, so I think that's going to have a play in it for sure. And then finally, Josh Emmett and Lerone Murphy. I'm taking Josh Emmett, even though he's the dog in this one, knocking out Bryce, Thuggins, and Mitchell his last time up, and just an absolute howitzer. I mean, it was a violent knockout, violent knockout. Lost to Taporia and Yair Rodriguez. No punks right there. Lerone Murphy is no punk either, by no means. And he's got 7 years on Emmett. He's got the reach. I mean, he's 33. Emmett's 44. Emmett's 40. Just 5-0 in his last 5, beating Dan the Man Ige, right? With the decision, Barbosa with the decision. And I think honestly, the sports odds definitely has this right, but I'm still sticking with Josh Emmett just because. Now, let's move on to our last segment, to our Fuck It Friday bets. Taking Padres at a +100 over the Cubs. Yanks at a -155 over the Pirates. D-backs -135 over the Nats. Stars -298 over the Pens. The Make-Beliefs at a -205 over the Jackets. The Panthers at a -125 over the Senators. I'm taking San Diego FC over the Seattle Sounders at a +130. I'm taking Tavares, Brito, and Emmett. Tavares at a -170, Brito at a -225, Emmett at a +250. All those put together give you a 37, 732 odds, a +37, 732 odds. $5 wins me a whopping $1,891.64. Obviously, it's a long shot, folks, but sometimes long shots pay off big. Once again, I'm Mark Saxon. This is Back to the Drawing Board. Thank you for joining me for yet another week. Enjoy your weekend full of sports, gamble and drink like degenerates, and have a good time.